spewing off as the bridge collapses. Watch. Goes along. Watch. Look. See that? Look. Little explosions. Okay? Why is a bridge that's been hit by a ship over there having explosions over here? Keep watching. Let's keep watching it. Look. Bang. Explosion, explosion. Both at the top and the bottom. Explosion, explosion again. More smoke coming out of it. Look, on fire as it's going down. There we go, right there on fire. Ready? Look, here's the smoke in the air here. Keep watching. Look, watch it again. Watch. Watch it. Look, fire, 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 fire. See? Steam as it hits the water. Funny, look, more fire, loads of fire. They demolished the bridge, people. Wake the fuck up.
China is now digging a 36,000-foot deep hole into the earth for one very specific reason. They're saying that this exploration means that the internal structure and evolution of the earth can now be studied, providing crucial data for geoscience research. The incredible science behind a surgical light that doesn't cast shadows. Okay. For anybody that's interested, this is what the light looks like, and as you can see, no matter what you do, there will never be a shadow. They're saying that these lights utilize a combination of multiple light sources and innovative positioning to ensure that no matter where the surgeon or instruments are placed, the light remains consistent and shadow-free. That's cool. A new study has now found that over 58% of people don't like the way that they sound. So that's just you hearing your own voice. Over half the population doesn't like to hear themselves. That's crazy. The McDonald's McRib is back, and this year there's a first ever DIY twist. That DIY twist is just the fact that they are now selling this massive gallon of McRib sauce for whoever is disgusting enough to want to get it. There's another new study that's now showing that people who decorate their Christmas tree earlier in the year end up happier. I'm really interested to know whenever you guys put up your Christmas trees, because I put mine up on the night of Halloween on October the 31st. So I give you these news roundups every day, so make sure you add me and come back to me tomorrow.
This mysterious footage has just been uploaded online, with some users saying that it was taken in Peru, while others said that it's a few years old and is making the rounds again. It's reported that a local inhabitant managed to capture this footage and quickly upload it to social media, pointing out that men in hazardous materials suits could be seen close to the aircraft. It's reported that a fiery tail of debris trailed behind it, creating an otherworldly spectacle that seemed to defy the laws of nature. Among the onlookers was a photographer who managed to capture the alleged extraordinary moment. Armed with their smartphone, they watched as men in black suits observed the downed aircraft. The story goes that witnesses reported seeing a luminous object streak across the sky, its trajectory defying earthly physics. Moments later, a thunderous crash reverberated through the landscape, echoing throughout the area. As the dust settled, a charred crater marked the point of impact, a telltale sign of an otherworldly encounter. The local community was immediately thrust into a whirlwind of astonishment and curiosity. Residents from neighboring villages flocked to the site, their smartphones capturing the evidence of the extraordinary event. The crash site was soon closed off, and black helicopters and vans could be seen throughout the area. Theories for what the object was ranged from a misfired experimental aircraft to advanced visitors. Some postulated that the crash was a result of advanced propulsion systems or interdimensional travel, while others pondered the craft's potential link to ancient civilizations or lost technologies. Interestingly, most people are not buying that this is genuine, and pointed out that this footage might have been published as part of a disinformation campaign. It's just been announced that there is little prospect at this time of further hearings on the UAP issue by the House Oversight Committee, and some have suggested that officials are doing everything they can to stop these investigations, including submitting fake footage online.
The following interview was filmed under strict lockdown rules. Some of the content you may find shocking.
Flatline rule means illegitimate, not allowed on the throne.
It may make you question your spiritual beliefs.
The biggest secret in the Catholic Church is that there were two Jesuses.
But the journalistic integrity of us presenting this in a truthful, non-biased way is very important to us. I hope you enjoy the show, and we'll see you for part 2.
After a restricted journey across Europe, we made it to the secret film location and we got prepared. We were all a bit nervous shooting what possibly could be the biggest story of the 21st century. So when he arrived, I thought I'd go straight in for the question that was on everyone's minds.
You rolling? Yeah.
King, take one.
With this ascension to the throne and the current situation with the coronavirus, is this all tied in with this internal battle in the USA?
Internal battles everywhere. It is the fulfillment of prophecy. The Jews have this prophecy where they have to destroy Europe before the Messiah comes. And Messiah just means someone whose earlier works are followed later. And all of these words have definitions like Lord, Christ, Messiah, Mashiach. Mashiach's born on a certain day during Rosh Hashanah after 7 years of certain events, which just happened to be my birthday and the time of my birth, which makes me King of Israel. Israel is supposed to be run by a temple, not a government. So in acknowledgement of me being Mashiach, Israel has not been able to form a government in the last 17 months. It's just a normal life. I grew up in New Zealand. Then when I was 5 and a half, King George VI and Queen Elizabeth II's doctor, called Sergeant Surgeon, he came out to New Zealand, invited my father to shear his sheep, and on Sunday we went for cold meat sandwiches, sitting on my father's knee, and he said, "Why don't you take your son down to see King George VI's son in Rotorua?" So I did that, and my father dropped me off. He was in there, then he left, and I had a private audience with King George VI's son, George Fitzratimer, who was actually King George VII. And that was on the 10th of July 1967. And at the same time, they changed the New Zealand currency from British pounds and pence to New Zealand dollars and cents. But they retained the old coin called a crown and kept it in New Zealand until 1971 in use, right? So they were, symbolically, they were saying that the crown is retained in New Zealand. There were signs and symbols all the way through. So if we go back a bit to the coins, from the 23rd of April 1968, 9.5 months after my meeting with King George VI's son, natural biological son, the coins started to appear Elizabeth to Greg. And that went on, that was first on the 5p coin, actually before decimalisation, and then it was last on the £2 coin on the 10th of June 1998. And that was 11,011 days apart. And 11 means the letter M, so it's spelled M0M. So something was starting to happen. I was being brought in and named and symbolised and labelled as royal. One of the causations is that the British royal family has been flat-lie royal since 1840.
Explain that.
Flat-lie royal means illegitimate, not allowed on the throne. So from the Battle of Waterloo, the British royal family lost all their money and they've been funded by the Rothschilds in exchange for breeding rights. So the Rothschilds had the breeding rights to the British royal family from 1819 to 2019.
So what was the purpose of the Rothschilds needing this?
The British royal family were virtually bankrupt from 1815. So the Rothschilds funded the British royal family in exchange for the Rothschilds breeding the royals. So the whole British royal family are Rothschild Batards, and Batard is the royal name for bastard. So what I did in my legal documents is I exposed King George V of England as being sired by Tsar Alexander III of Russia, and I exposed Queen Elizabeth II as sired by artificial insemination by Winston Churchill, who was actually the illegitimate son of King Edward VII.
Hang on.
I know, it gets too much, so I'll show you a chart.
Okay, so you've got it all laid out for us to see?
Absolutely.
Greg has produced a chart showing a surprisingly different narrative of the royal lineage we've all become accustomed to.
They've accepted them all by passive acquiescence and cognitive avoidance, and they've put an estoppel in action on them, which means to stop due to the action, which is an admission. So the whole world has been acting on my documents, including the British royal family. They've acquiesced to my documents by removing their emblem off the Buckingham Palace gates and by doing a Rex abscondus, and the Queen has gone into hiding in Windsor Castle for the purpose of supposedly the coronavirus. But the coronavirus actually means we crown him in Latin, right? The whole world's closed down for Lent. The Pope's abdicated, the Queen's abdicated, and I've been named in movies. I've named myself in the documents with these titles, given the reasons and the history of why I have these titles, and it's been accepted. So I'm now getting phone calls from and interviews with American generals accepting me and putting me in place, and the whole world is acting on it. And people saying, hey, how excited are you? And I'm going, actually, it just feels normal. It just feels, I've got no ego, super ego. I'm just walking the path, you know.
So you're just taking it all in your stride, really. You're just letting it all unfold.
It's like I was imbued with it. I literally was. I was imbued with this, and I was successively trained with it about every 2 years, you know, so it wouldn't go into overload. And I've been publishing this stuff for the last 18 years. The documentation I've presented to the Common Law Courts, Great Britain and International, includes the certified declaration of Queen Anne Boleyn's royal lineage and myself, Joseph Gregory Hallett, the certified declaration of Joseph Gregory Hallett, the Mashiach Christ Messiah and King of England. Affidavit in support of Joseph Gregory Hallett declares the illegitimate conception of King George V, United Kingdom, and the statement of claim in support of myself, declaring the patent ambiguity of Queen Elizabeth II's royal styles and titles. I also have a letter from Queen Victoria dated 17th of March 1850 to include all of Ireland, and it says, assemble him claimant. It's the most valuable royal mark in the British Empire.
It's such an incredible story, but it's very difficult to put it in terms that most people can understand it.
Well, what's actually going to happen is the crown and the orb and the scepter and the sword are going to be left on the throne. The gates are going to be open. I'm going to walk in and I'm going to sit down on the chair. Someone's going to put the crown on my head, take a photo, and we're going to send that around the world, and then we'll have a ceremony later. Wow. That's actually what's going to happen.
It seems very...
I mean, it's a total acquiescence, right?
Yeah.
It's just total acquiescence. The whole British royal throne and crown of England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, Britain, Great Britain, the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and the United Kingdom of Great Britain and all Ireland, and all of the Commonwealth is just acquiescing. It's fantastic. We're looking at the biggest coup in history because we've also got the acquiescence of the Catholic Church, right? And that's because I fulfilled all the predictions in the Bible. The Bible is actually a series of prophecies and predictions hidden inside a religion, and the religion's there to keep the prophecies alive so that enough of the world's population will recognize the predictions when they happen.
Check this out. That tree is clearly 300 years old, too, probably 200. But look at what we found inside. What is this? I got some markings on it.
Tesla really know the secret behind the pyramids? According to Tesla, the pyramids were more than just ancient tombs or architectural marvels. He believed that they held a hidden power, a mysterious energy source waiting to be unlocked. Tesla speculated that the pyramids were designed to harness and transmit wireless energy, tapping into the Earth's natural electromagnetic field. In his view, these majestic structures acted as gigantic power plants, capable of transmitting energy across vast distances. Imagine a world where electricity flowed freely, wirelessly, without the need for cumbersome cables or grids. Tesla envisioned a future where the pyramid's technology could be harnessed, revolutionizing the way we power our world. While Tesla's theory remains speculative, it challenges us to think beyond conventional wisdom. It sparks curiosity and invites us to explore the mysteries of the past. So the next time you gaze upon the pyramids, let yourself wonder, could there be more to these ancient wonders than meets the eye?
Last decoding the occultic symbology in the movie Wicked. I found some very disturbing stuff. So let's start with her wand, then we'll move to the bottomless pit. Yes, it's at the bottomless pit. So get a good look at her wand right here. And here it is again. Guess what this is? It's the same exact wand the Pope holds when he's paying homage to Helios, the sun god. See his head? See his wand? Here he is again right here. By the way, the sun god Helios is Lucifer. Also, the light bearer in Greek mythology, they called him a Titan or a Nephilim. Which doesn't exactly fit Lucifer since he's just a fallen angel and not Nephilim. But still, they gave him the Titan headline. Let's move on to the head of Oz. This right here appears to me to be the image of the beast using artificial intelligence to make a living thing. But it gets crazier. Here it is now, surrounded with fire like the bottomless pit, and the angel or fallen angel that's over the bottomless pit is Apollyon or Abaddon. Guess what? Apollyon is Helios too. But how can I prove this? Because the same head from the same thing on Broadway is quite literally Satan. You see the horns? Again right here. Quite literally the image of the beast being in the bottomless pit, also paying homage to Satan. And the transformation that Ariana Grande made for the movie speaks for itself. All this pollution is no good for you. Let me know what you think below.
This is the top of the Great Pyramid of Giza as seen from above. Although it is the peak, it spans more than 12 square meters. In fact, there used to be a pyramid-shaped block at this location, but it has been lost. According to ancient Egyptian records, the pyramid-shaped block placed on top was the most important part of a pyramid. It was the final piece that allowed the pyramid to fully utilize its true function. However, the tops of the pyramids have been lost for a long time, and no one knows why. Records from over 2,000 years ago show that at that time, the pyramid no longer had a pyramid-shaped block on top. When intact, the pyramid was covered with white limestone and polished to a shine. Therefore, sunlight would reflect off the surface of the pyramid, making this structure visible from space at a very far distance. The tip of the pyramid is believed to have been made of gold, leading many to suspect it may have been stolen. And the loss of the part that could activate the true function of the pyramid makes this structure even more mysterious to us.
Everybody's moving in the back room. We're waiting for the sun to rise. We move a little closer in the back room.
In this video, we have a lady who was recording her spouse laying on an air mattress. While laying there, it seems like something was pulling him off and dragging him on the floor. Let's watch.
When I thought he was joking, but something was really pulling him.
Ma, you see this?
No. Holy shit! What the hell is that?
What is happening? Did I see this?
Oh my God, what the?
One of the strangest forests called the Devil's Tramping Ground in North Carolina. It is just this bizarre circle in the woods where no plants will grow and no animals will even cross its path. It's a 40-foot clearing, which is pretty big, and it's said to be where the devil comes to stomp and dance every night. Others say he paces the circle at night as he contemplates what havoc to wreak next. Red eyes are constantly seen glowing here. People put belongings in that circle in the evening. Next day, day they've been thrown out.
Besok kita main lagi lah. Sibuk.
Joke in the Appalachian Mountains, if you hear your name, no you didn't. I have a theory. The Appalachian Mountains are known to be exceptionally creepy. So there's this interactive map on dinosaurpictures.org where you can enter your address and a time period to see what your area looked like during different stages of tectonic movement. Here's where I grew up, northern New Hampshire. Now when the continents were all crammed together about 200 million years ago, and this was Pangaea, the Appalachian Mountains are there. And even before Pangaea, at about 400 million years ago, it's still there. Now let's go as far back as we can, 750 million years ago, before multi-celled organisms even appear. Boom! My town is there. The rest of the planet, by the way, is water. There are various points in time where this is kind of underwater, but let's just say for funskies that the Appalachians, which is this area kind of, are so creepy because there legitimately are things in this land that just never left. It's just a fun theory. People in the Appalachians love to have them, but what if they've seen things?
Have you ever experienced where you've gone up across a nylon floor or you're wearing certain clothes, it's dry, and then you have a spark coming out of your finger and you go, oh, someone's got shot. What's happening there is you have all charge on your body and there's something that's flowing out of your body, and this forms the toroidal structure and it produces a microball lightning coming out of your finger. But the flux is always coming out of your finger. When you have this coming out of your body and you go into this position, I mean, specifically this position, right? When you are meditating, you have these structures coming out, producing an ether vortex, and you have these structures coming out, producing an anti-ether vortex. That produces the magnetic loop here, of the toroidal moment through the center. And that is able to interact with the dark matter that is flowing into the earth, which is a model of gravity.
Y'all watch this. Jump, come on, get in here with us. Go ahead.
It's chasing me through the woods.
Dude, if you don't jump, it's gonna get you. You have to jump. Man, look at this!
Go to the water, you swim, go to the boat.
Come on, Tom.
Here in a few seconds, they see this thing up on the...
Swim.
Up there on the edge, still chasing you. And you can jump through the damn water. Watch.
No. No, we've not seen it. Oh, wait, what is... Dude, what is...
I've been scared.
Oh my gosh, dude, did you see that? Thank God you're too scared. That's the same thing with his sleep. That's it, man. Let's get out of here. Find out what that thing was. Look, sorry, man. Why does it keep
the red eyes?
Now. There it is. Did you see it? Did you see it? No, hold on. Dude, if we get to some camera.
See that?
There it is. That's it. Dude, why is it chasing us? I don't know.
Look at that damn thing.
Oh my goodness. That is, oh my gosh. It's about to jump in the water.
Now watch, it's about to jump in the water. There it goes.
Let's go! What the heck? It's chasing the boat, Tom.
Damn.
Oh my goodness. Go!
One, this is not a 737 problem, it's a Boeing problem. When I first started working at Charleston, I was in charge with pushing back defects to our suppliers. I take a group of inspectors and actually go to the supplier and inspect their product before they send it in. Well, I'd taken a team of 4 inspectors to Spirit Aerosystems to inspect the 41 section before they sent it to Charleston. And we found 300 defects. Some of them were significant that needed engineering intervention. When I returned to Charleston, my senior manager told me that we had found too many defects. and he was going to take the next trip. So the next trip he went on, he took 2 of my inspectors, and when they got back, they were given accolades for only finding 50 defects. So I pulled that inspector aside and I said, did Spirit really clean up their act that quick? That don't sound right. And she was mad. She said, no. Said the 2 inspectors were given 2 hours to inspect the whole 41 section, and they were kicked off the airplane.
At that uncle's house, and he had this stuff stashed aside, so obviously he knew something about it too. But look at this here. So not only do I have Shazam with Sinbad, but Berenstein book. The Berenstein book. It's the legitimate book. But Berenstein, not Berenstein. You see that? E-I-N. I don't know if it's backwards or not. But the Mandela effect is real, you guys. There's also a pair of Fruit of the Loom sweatpants. I'll have to find out what my girlfriend did with them. It does have the cornucopia on the Fruit of the Loom. And it's not, it's just that it was never there. It was.
You're not an alien that's supposed to be involved in the UFO war today. Please scroll. Good, it's just us. Where the fuck y'all at? I called into work. The kids are here. I got a stop payment on all my checks and online payments. Y'all have let us down so many times. You know better than the U.S. government. I built a soundproof box to put the kids in so you wouldn't hear them. I'm out of beef jerky. I didn't want to get my Walmart order today, so I got to wait till tomorrow. Told my wife I don't love her anymore. She's in the other soundproof box crying. we wanted this so bad. Where you at?
An Arizona man is lucky to be alive after some quick thinking. The moment caught on camera. Pay attention to that red circle on your screen. Though while on a roller coaster, he realized the lap bar holding him down had detached moments before he dropped. He made the decision to get out and climb onto the catwalk. The man who did not want to be identified said he filed an incident report. As for that amusement park, they did not immediately respond to our requests for comment.
How scary, right?
I'm just glad he had the quick thinking action. I don't even think I would have.
I would have been like, well, there we go.
I know.
That guy was looking to see him. It was like something cut through it.
You believe that various presidents have been informed about what you believe to be the truth on UFOs?
The people that control this information is a organization that we know of as MJ-12, and they're top group of military and scientists, and I do know that when the president becomes president, it takes at least 3 or 4 months before he actually gets the clearance to know everything there is. Now that doesn't mean they tell him, but it does take 3 or 4 months to get the quote from Carter when he was during his election campaign: "If I become president, I'll make every piece of information this country has about UFO sightings available to the public and the scientists. I am convinced that UFOs exist because I've seen one."
Jimmy Carter says he saw one.
That's Jimmy Carter. He saw one in 1973.
He didn't tell us, did he?
He doesn't. The pressure is enormous on these people to cover this stuff up. The Air Force has made an art form of ridiculing people who have talked about this thing. They've done an excellent job of covering it up for the last 4 years. George, basically what we're dealing with here is, I'll give you the bottom line.
Okay,
I'm not trying to sell
I want to hear your thesis.
I'm not trying to sell a book. I'm not trying to promote a lecture. This is based on what I've come across after intense research in the last year. And I have found out that the government has retrieved between 10 and 15 actual flying saucers, 3 of which have been in perfect condition, 1 of which they tried to fly. Up at the test site, there's a report that of the 3 that they got in perfectly good condition, at least 1 is up at the test site and has flown, and 1 was being flown as of 1981.
By us?
By us, yeah.
The coast of Sicily, all these apartments were like catching on fire. A microwave, boom, some books, boom, couch, boom. And so the government came in and they're like, what the is going on here? So they quarantined the area, get everyone to leave, and they're going, why are things catching on fire? They detected these energy weapons or something that were way out in the Mediterranean. What they looked out and saw were UFOs. So the head of the UFO program and the head of the Italian Navy SEALs get on an unmarked civilian helicopter and just fly out to go see what's going on out there. As they're flying, a UFO pops out of the ocean and shoots their helicopter down. I have the documents. I have pictures of the helicopter being chased by a UFO and all the damage that was done to it with some type of microwave weapon or something. And what they found out was there were airplanes and other helicopters kind of in the area, but the UFO knew that those dudes were looking for him. It's like they can read their minds. It's like we have drones that fly around and listen to people's like cell phones. They do it with thought.
Göbekli Tepe, brother, if there's such a thing as an ancient conspiracy theory, it's this. So I remember hearing Graham Hancock come on your show back in like 2015 or 2017, and he was talking about Göbekli Tepe. And at that time, he had shared that the site was only approximately 5% excavated. These pillars dates back 11,600 years. It appears to be purposely buried at the same time of the Younger Dryas climate catastrophe. This is fascinating. I'm like, okay, I'm going to backburn this topic of Göbekli Tepe for a little while, let them further their excavations, and I'll revisit this later when there's something new to share. So earlier this summer, I'm like, all right, let me revisit Göbekli Tepe and see what's new there. And I was astonished to learn that 5% figure was still the same. And I couldn't believe this. They're going to defer a full-scale excavation for, quote, future generations with a 150-year estimated time frame for a full excavation of Göbekli Tepe. And I'm like, wait a second. Are you serious? Like, this makes no sense. We're talking about arguably not just the world's oldest ancient site, but arguably the most mysterious, because it's like you were saying, it's not supposed to exist.
We have a clockwork mechanism that will ring the bell, but we've pumped out all the air from this bell jar, and so when I start it running, you won't be able to hear it. You can see the hammer hitting the bell. It's got a life of its own, this plunger. I've got to hold on to it. But you can see it striking the bell, but because there's no air inside, you can't hear it. Now I'm going to let the air in. And as we let the air in, now I think you can hear the bell quite clearly. And that's a very nice experiment to demonstrate how air is needed for the transmission of sound.
these eggs I bought from Walmart. I tried to break the yolk. They're like hard and rubbery. What the heck? Look, almost the entire pack's like that. Disgusting.
Do you know that there's one U.S. company that the United States government cannot work with? It's a company called Pinkerton, and it's even been codified in law for over 100 years that people that work for them cannot work for the U.S. government. An individual employed by the Pinkerton Detective Agency or similar organization may not be employed by the government of the United States or the government of the District of Columbia. And you're probably asking why. The Pinkerton is a detective agency that was founded by this man, Alan Pinkerton. Alan was an interesting guy. He was an abolitionist, he was a detective, and he even stopped a failed assassination attempt on Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War. Too bad he wasn't at the Ford Theater, though. But they were maybe a little bit too good. Rich people like Andrew Carnegie started hiring them as private security to bust unions. They didn't do it psychologically, they didn't do it monetarily, they did it with their fists. One specific instance was the Homestead Steel Strike. People at Carnegie Steel decided to strike. Carnegie Steel called in the Pinkertons to stop them from striking. The fight between the Pinkertons and the strikers was so bad that the state had to call in the National Guard to stop them. What happened was so bad that the United States government wanted nothing to do with them and passed a law in 1893 saying that we want nothing to do with them and they can't have anything to do with us. And the company is still around today, and they are a consulting and investigative service.
What I believe crashed at Roswell was German from Argentina, but it had hallmarks and technology based on alien technology. So we put out a story saying it's alien, and then we put out a story saying it's a weather balloon. But the real thing it was, we didn't want anyone to guess, and that's why we put those two things out there. 90 days after the Roswell event, CIA was created, the Air Force was separated from the Army, the National Security Act was created, and all those things are mechanisms to start learning more and to start getting private industry off the ground.
So that had nothing to do with World War II. You think it had to do with aliens?
I do know that there's connections to Atlantis.
What's the connection?
That there's a very advanced group that left after a catastrophe and hung around in a small outpost here and throughout time would push civilization forward, and that's who the Greek gods were.
Whoa.
And that's why it's very interesting when the Roswell wreckage, there's Greek writing.
Eleftheria,
which means freedom in ancient Greek.
Civilization, you're living with the right type of eyes. You're sort of looking around your city and you're going, well, hang on, what's this building doing here? And why is there a building just like that in the Philippines? Why is there one in Japan? Apparently Japan's borders were closed, weren't they? Why are we finding what we're told is Greco-Roman style architecture in every country on earth? Was it really Greco-Roman style, or is it evidence of a culture that existed, a worldwide culture that existed right around the world in a not too distant past?
If I took a picture of this building behind me and asked any of these people where do they think this building is in the world, I guarantee you most of them would say Rome or Europe somewhere. But no, it's right here in San Francisco. We have buildings like this all over the country, and they want us to believe that they were built in the early 1900s or late 1800s with horse and buggy. And there's just no way that's true. These buildings were built by the prior civilization, master builders, the old world order.
This is the architecture I'm talking about. You'll find this anywhere in New Zealand, Australia, Hong Kong, North America, South America, all over Europe. It doesn't matter where you are, this architecture is replicated. The weird thing is, they akin it to being all built around the 1870s to 1900 mark. So all of the world just out of nowhere at the same time. There was nothing before it. Does it make any sense? I don't think antiquity is a long time ago. I think this civilization went just before us. You know, the Edwardians are supposed to be around the time of the First World War. So within grandparents' living memory, yet we know nothing about
It's the control mechanism that covers it up with the education system. They got the news, they got the narrative, they got, the mainstream to tell you how things are, but the reality is completely different. History goes to the victors. Okay, so they invaded this place and took over a beautiful through jealousy, using trade routes, using the sea. They took over this place. They covered all of this fine architecture with their iconography. So there's literally been a cover-up of history more than one way.
If you look at Capitol buildings all over the earth, they look the same. They do. They've got columns, they've got domes. It was not random. And every story we're told in our historical narrative about how a place got started was some guy was the first settler there, bought some land, subdivided it, sold it, and pretty soon you have a city. But the whole narrative is based, especially in North America, that there wasn't anything there, and we built it all.
You could look at it, the whole building was a work of art. So there was obviously some pride that went behind that.
What if the universe didn't just start, but is evidence of booting up the Matrix? In this video, we're going to look at the Big Bang and the possibility that it could provide evidence that we live in a simulation. Now, before the Big Bang, the universe was sitting dormant. Some say it was condensed to the size of a tennis ball and it was like a quadrillion degrees. And then an explosion happens and we have the beginning of space and time. What breaks your brain is this foundational core was not sitting in space. Space didn't exist. So what was before the Big Bang? If you ask a physicist, they'll talk about things like dark energy, dark foam, which are just about as understandable as something existing without space and time that created space and time. If you ask a theologian, they will say God created it, which many people will say, what created God? What was before God? Obviously, our minds have the constraints of time, and so we have to have the beginning and we have to have an end. But one possible explanation of the beginning is that the Big Bang was actually just the booting up of a program. What is the program? It is all the laws of the universe. This is Max Tegmark. He's an MIT cosmologist, and he says the strict laws of nature, physics, and different things point to the likelihood that we live in a simulation. In fact, science, philosophy, mathematics, spirituality, it is all our attempt to decode the coding that operates the simulation. People often describe mathematics as the language of the universe. What if it's just the coding? We are just trying to re-engineer the simulation that we live within. Hear me out. What if the fact that the smartest people in our world right now, they look at the beginning of the universe and all they can say is, I don't know. There's just evidence that there was a massive explosion where space and time began to exist from that. Hear me out. If the Sims somehow came conscious, wouldn't that be akin to them just being like, listen, we don't know why we're here. We just know one day somebody turned something on, fired up the old Xbox, and now we exist. And I just want to note really quickly, the fact that a lot of people who believe in simulation theory are also staunch atheists, I think is a little bit contradictory because it's not mutually exclusive. I mean, why would it have to be that either God created this or we're in a simulation? God could be the source of the simulation. But what if the start of all of this is just him pressing that power button and turning it on?
Acabo de ver algo ahí que me parece como un tronco. Vamos a ver qué es. Ah, no manches. Esto es un hueso. Es un hueso. Miren esto. Wow. Es un hueso. Es un hueso. Es un hueso enorme. Aquí en el monte, miren. No sé qué tantos metros medirá, pero es un hueso. Llega hasta acá y hasta acá.
Up here is a beetle shell. It's called the elytron. And if you did not know, beetles levitate. They don't fly, they levitate. Watch the wizardry of the beetle. So a moth flies exactly how you would expect, like it swims through the air. Same with flies, they fly horizontally. The beetle flaps out his levitators, jumps in the air, and hopes for the best. You don't really notice it because it happens really fast. But when they are about to take off, they flap out the elytra. Moth wings move in a wave and fly wings move up and down, but beetle wings move side to side just to change the rotational direction that they're going. The elytra react to electromagnetic fields as small as the one that your body produces because of these guys. They're literally little vortex generators inside the shell. Inside the shell are little resonator cavities. Pulse in the cavity creates a wave that can be directed. In our antennas, we direct the beam by delaying the pulse, but the beetle has a shell that's already curved. When you face them together downwards, they create a reflection back up. This was first discovered by Viktor Grebennikov. He studied these beetles and then glued some of their wings to the bottom of a platform and created a levitating platform. You have to lay it out in a certain pattern, but he even had controls on the footboard like a 3D scooter. Now, if you're observant, you might see where he got his inspiration for this little device. Who learned that one in school? Well, you didn't get the education that the ancients got. Their way was teaching through the geometries of nature and conveyed in symbolism. It's created a philosophy optimized around the rules of reality. But hey, you got that degree though. It's okay, I got a degree too, I'm still paying that thing off.
Alright, I'm really lit. I'm gonna ramble to you guys. You gotta be careful with this UFO stuff in the news. I already did a part 1, here's a part 2. Now, the part 1 was simple. Here's a 10-second recap. Don't trust what you're seeing blindly. Here's a government document from 14 years ago saying we have technology to make an apple look like a banana or vice versa. Whatever you want it to look like, it can be achieved. Now, I'm no scientist, but they put Harry Potter in the middle of a government document, so it must be true, right? Now, part 2 is the flip side of it. Instead of it being an illusion, what if there's people in these? What if they're man-made? Where did we get that technology from? Now, these things have been seen for a long time. They've stirred up a lot of controversy. You've heard people mention the Phoenix Lights. If you don't know what it was a ton of those flying around, making absolutely no noise. Now, to understand this better, you gotta understand Bob Lazar. This dude claimed he worked at Area 51. Everyone called him a grifter. He made a ton of UFO predictions, said this is how they work, this is what they look like, and he's been right. I don't care if you think he's a scammer. This scammer was extremely accurate with his information. Here's a drawing he released to the news like 50-something years ago. He drew what they look like perfectly. Don't believe me? Here's a government video. Now, if you want to see the video yourself, just type in UFO video from the Navy. It's like the first thing that will pop up, and it's all major news sources talking about it. But you can look at it right there, and that's exactly how he drew it. But more importantly, he said they don't fly flat like a plane flies. They fly it tilted on their axis. Belly first, moving forward. Watch the videos. That's exactly what they do. He said that like 40-something years ago on a radio show. That's crazy. Now, if Bob Lazar really was right, that means we recovered all of these from Roswell, New Mexico, another claim he made back in the day. Now, you want to read this yourself, just type in Guy Hoddle Memo, FBI.gov, and click the link that says FBI.gov. That's all you got to do, and it'll be there. But this document claims we recovered multiple UFOs and their pilots way back in the day, and we don't know what happened to them. Now, to paraphrase this document, it's only one page. An investigator from the Air Force stated that they found 3 so-called saucers, 50 feet in diameter with raised centers, exactly how Lazar described it. And as well as that, this document alleges that they had pilots in it, each about 3 feet tall at the maximum and wearing cloth of a texture that we don't know what it is. Similar to a blackout pilot suit, so a G-suit like in an airplane. Now, if that's true, that's crazy. What's even crazier is they just declassified this on their website like 10 or 15 years ago. I found this when I was 12 years old, and it started a whole love of reading government documents to see what they say, because they're crazy, and they just put this stuff on their website. This is on FBI.gov. All of my videos, the documents come from a .gov website only. I will not use anywhere else but a .gov. So, we know that we've recovered saucers. We know that people are seeing flying triangles everywhere, and there are living patents for anti-gravity reactor flying triangles. Let's explore that more. Now, a really popular figurehead of these black triangle UFOs, the guy that headed up the investigation, is Robert Bigelow. He used to own Skinwalker Ranch and has ties to the government. He's also a billionaire. So if anyone's going to know this stuff, probably the guy that is friends with people in the government and has $1 billion. Now, another thing, you can just look this up on Wikipedia. He urged a senator to start the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or the AATIP, which spent like $22 million over 5 years studying the crap out of UFOs, what they are, mostly the black triangle UFOs that I just showed you. I have a video of one I'll show you in a second. And this is the same AATIP that has whistleblowers coming out that started this whole snowball of us finding out info on UFOs. These guys leaked all of this to Congress themselves because they realized it was being kept secret. $22 million over 5 years. You can't tell me they don't take this stuff seriously if they're spending that kind of money on this. And this is a more public thing. I mean, this wasn't even technically classified, which is crazy, and anything that was crazy enough that they found got classified and taken to another project right away. You can see callbacks to that in all kinds of government documents. These guys found it, we classified it, and are now researching it ourselves. We're heading it up. Now, quick thing to note, if there are humans flying those around, that means there are other UFOs too, because we got that technology from somewhere, and I don't think we figured that out in the 1940s. We barely had jets. Now, another popular claim Lazar made was that these flying saucers have no control surfaces whatsoever. They don't know how they control them. Here's my theory. Now, I'm going to explain the answer, and then I'm going to explain why I think that's the answer. Otherwise, I think I will lose you guys to a short attention span. Now, in Project Kona Blue, they have a consciousness center, and this is studying the interactions of consciousness and technology. Another side note is they're trying to figure out a way to counter remote viewing, which is interesting. But that main thing is important, the relationship between technology and your consciousness. I think you already know what I'm about to say. You fly them with your mind. It's as cut and dry as that. You're flying it with your mind. Nothing else makes sense. If there's no control surfaces and the government is going crazy on fringe sciences like psychic people, which honestly I don't know what I believe in, but I'm pretty sure that's real at this point. They're flying it with their mind. It's got to be that cut and dry. And the first study of this consciousness stuff was the Gateway process, where they were going really hard trying to figure this out. They were sending people into out-of-body experiences through sounds that manipulate your brainwaves, and they were all coming back talking to beings and turning into hippies. But tell me, back in the day, why would they spend all this money on it? Yeah, maybe you can use it for spying. Maybe you can use it to fly a damn spaceship that we just found that crashed into some dude's farm. I don't know. That makes way more sense. They found this shit on accident. They were trying to figure out how to fly the damn UFOs. Now, another thing we know is these things absolutely break physics. In the videos the government has released, they are beating the brakes off of our fighter jets. Not literally, but in comparison of speed, agility, turning. These things turn at speeds that would turn us into jello. Just by being inside of it, we would get liquefied. It would be bad. Now, you can't tell me that someone is in there flying it and moving a stick around and the pedals and pressing all the buttons. No, they've got to be thinking. That's the only way that's fast enough to keep up with the movement of these craft. Now, a quick illustration. Most of our fighter jets are really fast. I love fighter jets. These things can go the speed of sound at cruising altitude and just kind of chill there. The fastest one we've made can go Mach 3. That's 3 times the speed of sound. That's incredible. So picture this. You have an aircraft that goes Mach 3. You know, nothing is faster than that until these saucers show up and just absolutely gap us in the straightaways. That's like racing a Honda Accord against a Hellcat. They're making our fighter jets look like 80s Honda Civics. That's a problem. Now, first thing to note, we don't even have materials that can withstand that we know of. Those speeds that we think these things are going would disintegrate anything that we found on Earth just due to the friction in the atmosphere. Same reason rocket shuttles get red hot and meteorites burn up in the atmosphere. Same idea, but these things seem to be immune to it. Now, let alone that, they're going so fast, they're making our fighter jets look like Honda Accords. These things are turning at those speeds too. Now, what you got to know is if you're turning really fast in an airplane, even really fast cars, the gravity will compress down onto your body. It will make you smaller. It will push all of the blood out of your brain and into your legs. That's why people pass out in jets when they're turning too fast. The pilot is always fighting passing out when they're in these high-intensity turning fights. So what do the pilots do? They wear special suits that compresses their body and keeps blood up in their head, as well as other exercises. You've probably seen videos of people in fighter jets and their faces just go and look really weird. That's because everything's pushing down on them, 3, 4, maybe 9 times the weight of gravity. That's really heavy. Imagine 63 pounds of pressure pushing blood out of your head. That's what these guys are dealing with. But now these things right here, these saucers, they're doing like 50 times that. That would literally turn us into jello. That would turn our insides into mush. We would get flattened like a piece of paper. And they're turning like that. They're flying. They're having fun, It's crazy sporadic movements. It's not smooth. They're going doo, 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 doo. It's nuts. There's no way a human's in that. But just because there's not a human in that saucer does not mean there's not a human in this triangle, which has been observed doing similar things but much slower. I'll show you a video right now. But anyways, I love you guys and thank you for tuning in.
On the channel is me, Randall. Hope you have a nice